Crew territory is back. Braun and Kratz and Corbin Burnes is going to join us later on in the show. And let's start with the fact that Milwaukee's running into some talented teams at the wrong time right now, Kratzy. And that includes their division rival, the St. Louis Cardinals, who look completely different from what they were a couple weeks ago. So they lose 2 out of 3 to St. Louis. They fall in 2 out of 3 to Tampa Bay. They did salvage a game on Sunday, and I got to give a lot of props to Willy Adames for doing the Randy after the home run. So they've still got pizzazz. They've still got swag, but they do pick up more losses than wins this week.
They do. But to salvage a game, and it was a 1-0 game the other day against the Rays, like it was a definite tough stretch, but you salvage a game against teams that are grinding and are putting together some really, really good games. I love the pose, too. A little trolling by Willy.
Friendly trolling. He said he let Randy Arozarena know in advance he was going to do his move after he homered, and he pulled it off just in time, too. Final game of the series. Let's bring in Curt Hogg right now from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, our first guest on the Brew Crew. And let's get into, actually, Curt, we appreciate the time. 2 years since Willy Adames was dealt from the Rays to the Brewers. Of course, the Rays picking up big pieces. And I think it's one of those deals that for the most part at the time right away was a very baseball-y trade, earlier than we usually see deals. Worked out for both sides. I know there's been pitching injuries on Tampa Bay's side, but I love these deals and I wish there were more of them.
Yeah, it feels like teams kind of need the timing of the deadline, creates some scarcity. It creates some pressure to get deals done. But man, if we could get more all-star level players dealt in mid-May. I know the circumstances were a little unique with Wander Franco was about to come up and the Brewers desperately needed a shortstop, but more May trades. How about it? Let's make it happen.
Yeah, I think it's a testament to the front office of both teams being like, hey, you know what? We don't have a spot for Willy. Hey, we could really like some pitching from the Rays side. And the Brewers were like, yeah, we'll definitely take a Willy Adames just for his glove. Who knew he was going to come out and just absolutely light the world on fire at the plate?
Yeah, it's one of those things, too. I'm sure the Brewers really liked Willy Adames, and their GM now, Matt Arnold, had a lot of history with him back from his time in Tampa. It's one of those things, though, if I'm a GM and the Rays are calling me and they're like, all right, we want these 2 pitchers, Drew Rasmussen and JP Fireeisen was the other guy. And they both have pitched really well when healthy for the Rays. But if I'm a GM on the other team and the Rays are calling me asking for 2 names, I'm probably hanging up the phone right now, right there. I do not have the guts to make that deal.
Yeah, and that's been the case for quite some time. But I will say this has been, in my mind, the best player on the team in the past 2 years. Do you agree?
Yeah, best position player for sure. I mean, the guy you guys have coming up, Corbin Burnes, pretty good as well. Devin Williams also really good at the closer spot. But yeah, the defense has been remarkable. Kind of an underrated Gold Glove candidate. So a lot of the metrics really, really loved him last year, and you just watch him, and he's kind of flashy out there too. So yeah, set the franchise record for homers for a shortstop in a single season last year. Robin Yount played for the Brewers, so that's a pretty good record to have. He's gotten off to a little bit of a slow start this year, but some of the power is still there, and it'll come around for sure.
Is this the position player group that's going to take the Brewers to the playoffs? Because if it is, somebody needs to step up and start hitting with runners in scoring position. So if it's not, then who is going to step in or who is going to get called on, because it's just not clicking for the offense?
Yeah, we talk about how the starting pitching depth has been thinned a little bit, but I think the Garrett Mitchell injury really did a bit of a number on, and also the Luis Urias injury. Those two were kind of in the first couple weeks of the season coinciding with each other. That did a number on the offense's depth, and you've kind of looked at the roster for the last couple of years, and you wonder, how is there room to get another big bat? I think there has been room to get it. Now they haven't exactly gone out and gotten that big bat, and so it's an offense that's relying on a lot of just slightly above average, kind of like going off of their depth. So once they don't have all those guys healthy, and all those guys playing up to the level that they're capable of, that's when you can kind of see some months like they've been having this month where they're playing, roughly 400 ball, and there's a lot of games where there's 0 or 1 or 2 runs, and it kind of makes you start looking towards, speaking about that deadline, an eye toward that deadline again. Though, like I said, with the starting pitching kind of being thinned out, that might be a spot they also have to address. And how much prospect capital does this team want to dole out when they really are high on this group and this prospect group and what they can do in future years. So the Brewers are kind of going to be a sneaky, interesting team to watch come late July, once teams are kind of settling into buyers and sellers.
Speaking of those prospects, some of the guys playing in minor leagues aren't all prospects. Speaking of Luke Voit, when Voit comes back, what's going to happen? How's that going to shake out? And how's he going to get his time once he's on the roster? Because you've got to kind of see Rowdy hopefully securing that role as the home run leader on the team, as just kind of an everyday first baseman, even though he only really plays against righties.
Yeah, it's interesting because, there's the Brewers, there's no question about it. They have struggled against lefties, especially lefty starters. Going into yesterday's game, when the Rays had a lefty opener, so technically a starter, but not completely. They had about a 600 OPS against lefty starters, which this won't surprise you was the worst in baseball. So there's a lot of people wondering, is there room to put Rowdy Tellez in the lineup every single day? Luke Voit has been on the team to hit lefties. Like, that's been his role. The numbers haven't been there early on, and now he's on a rehab stint. They signed Darren Ruff, a guy who for his career has hit lefties very, very well. But I don't know I don't think that's exactly like a long-term commitment. Now, if he hits, it will be, but it'll be interesting to see, once Voigt's ready in another week or so. Are they going to go off of the 1 week sample of what Darren Ruff has done? Or are they going to go back to Voit? Are they just going to play Rowdy Tellez every day and maybe open up that roster spot for someone else? That's kind of the DH spot's kind of been the question, especially against left-handed hitters all year. And it's almost June, and we're still still figuring it out on the fly, it seems.
Curt, I'm going to make a case for this team to be aggressive buyers at the trade deadline. So they are in first place. Obviously, they're clear of the Pirates now, and they're going to continue to slip. The Cardinals are by far the biggest threat in the division, but they are 5 games clear of that ball club. When you add it up, if this team does have a healthy Brandon Woodruff for the second half of the season, and you've got Burnes doing what he should be doing, and Freddie Peralta, who for the most part, I know he had the one hiccup recently, but then recovered. For the most part, he has looked like an upper echelon starter, right? Definitely can slot in as one of the better 3s in baseball. Shouldn't this team be thinking about World Series?
If you ask me, the answer is absolutely. And not only all of that, but you sort of start piecing the timelines together of the core of the team and some of the contracts. Corbin Burnes is a free agent after next year. Brandon Woodruff, a free agent after next year. Willy Adames, a free agent after next year. And these guys are all at the very top of their position in the entire league. Corbin Burnes and Brandon Woodruff at the very top of it when healthy. So that's rightfully so. They would command a lot of money if they keep up the performance that they've been having in recent years over the next year and a half. So it starts to create questions of, are the Brewers going to be able to keep these guys? It's a big question around here in Milwaukee. They haven't been signed yet. As these things get closer, it becomes even tougher in a lot of instances to extend guys. So that being said, you've got this window open right now, and the Brewers want to avoid they say the peaks and valleys of other organizations. So, they want to consistently have a shot each and every year, and they don't want to sacrifice a potential shot 5 years from now by trading the entire farm. But wins right now that's what you can guarantee you're going to have. You have a good ball club this year. You can guarantee if you put together a good roster, you'll have a shot at a playoff run, especially with this pitching rotation when they're all healthy and pitching like they're capable of, how good they can be. So now might be the shot, to go for it. We'll see if they actually do it. They have, the farm system's much better than it's been in recent years, which creates sort of a conundrum of like, do we take advantage of that to make the team better now, or try to have a really good team in 5 years as well? It's a tricky spot.
Totally seen the Brewers. Now I know it was with David Stern. Now Matt Arnold's at the helm, but we've totally seen some unique trades. Speaking of the Willy Adames trade, speaking of the unfortunate Hader trade last year, is it possible that at the trade deadline they're 3 games up and they go for it and they're buyers, and then be sellers with the year of control left for the starting pitchers that they have? Is it possible they could be a buyer and then be a seller at the end of the season, and to, like you said, kind of rebuild, still with Yelly, still with, Luis, still with Willie and all those guys?
That's absolutely a possibility. I no idea how this is going to play out, but that's certainly one prominent scenario, and at least in my mind, is you take your shot that you have right now, but then you can probably still get a lot of value for any of these guys that you could trade in the off season as well. And then their model isn't fully Rays-esque, but similar to that. And you're not losing Corbin Burnes, you're not losing Woodruff, you're not losing any of those guys for absolutely nothing. They could let it play, those contracts play out, and then kind of take a shot at it next year as well. But with how we saw the Hader trade go, 2 things with how the Hader trade went down. First is I don't think we're going to see a replication of that this trade deadline. Nobody enjoyed how that went down. But in the offseason, I think it's a little easier maybe for fans to kind of swallow losing a player like that, and then getting prospects back, and then having an entire offseason to sort of make up for the loss. So absolutely, I could see that happening. Not saying it's a guarantee of how it's going to work. It takes 2 to tango in the trade market, but absolutely could see it happening.
And my thing is just looking around the division, and around the National League, I should say. Padres, not as good as we thought they were going to be so far. Mets, not as good as we thought they were going to be so far. Dodgers, good, but dealing with a ton of pitching injuries. Point is, this is your lane. It might not look like it, but this is your lane. You pick up a couple offensive pieces, this could be a very serious ball club. So, Curt, we appreciate the time, man. We'd love to have you back sometime. And you can follow him at CYRTHOGG, writes for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. Thanks, Curt.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you. And next up, we spoke about him a bit, Corbin Burnes chatting with us on Brew Crew territory. Let's get into it with Corbin. Oh, we got an outside shot from the Lou?
Yep. We're in St. Louis.
Okay, what's the weather report and what's going on the field right now?
There's absolutely nothing going on the field except for Murph walking in the outfield talking to God knows who. But it looks like it's going to rain. They said there's not any rain in the forecast, but you know how good weathermen are, so we'll see.
Well, let's ask him.
What?
If you catch a guy peeking, would you hit him? Let's be honest. Let's throw it out there.
It depends on where I'm at in the outing. If I'm late in the outing and a guy's trying to peek because I'm shoving, then yeah, why not? Because we've already gone 5, 6, 7 innings. So if they throw me out, then whatever.
Okay, what if it's first inning and let's say you catch Paul Goldschmidt his first at bat. You got 2 outs, nobody on. And he gives a little, dude, looks down, looks somewhere. And you're like, oh, that son of a bitch is peeking. You're not 2 outs, nobody on. Maybe one of them cutters might get away.
Maybe, but probably anyone but Paul. Paul's got forearms like my legs. So he might snap it in half.
and not Judge probably either. But did you see that? Did you see the video? And what did you think? And did you hear, the response afterward? Because I'm sure it's going to be talked about now for the next few days. Is that series? It's a 4-game series. It just started. And the Blue Jays broadcast was like, dude, why are you looking over?
I did see the video, and I saw his response after the game saying he's looking at the dugout. If that's truly the case, then I guess we'll see what happens tonight if he's peeking in there. But if they're relaying because a pitcher's tipping or a catcher's tipping, that's part of the game. We see it happen all the time. So if that truly is the case, then I think it's on the pitcher or the catcher to clean it up so you don't get you're not tipping pitches out there. I think that's something that pitchers we throw once every 5 or 6 days. Part of our job is see if we can pick up on stuff like that. So chances are one of the pitchers in the dugout picked up on it, or a hitting coach or someone picked up on it, and and was relaying, and it became a little bit obvious. But if it truly was him just looking at the dugout to shut those guys up, then you'll probably know tonight.
Now, if BP or if Walker, they come up with the pregame scatter reports and stuff. If they say, hey, this guy's a peaker, can you see it from the mound, or are you just relying on Contreras or Victor to call that out?
Yeah, I think it kind of depends on what it is. Obviously, if it's a catcher setting up too early, I think that's a little bit easier to fix because hey, if a pitcher's comfortable with you setting up early, but you don't want the hitter to know it's coming. So if it means setting up later as a catcher, I think that's an easy fix. But if it's something mechanical for a pitcher on the mound, it becomes a little bit more difficult because if you're having to change your set position or what you're doing with your hands when you're going into leg left, it could be a little bit more difficult. But you don't want the hitter to know what's coming.
You're right. Last time out, no one was peeking at you because you dealt. So
Yeah.
Nice outing last time you were. Now, did you talk to Christian Yelich and say, hey, because we talked to him a couple weeks ago, about a month ago, I said, hey, you need to start hitting more homers, driving the ball. And he said, yeah, I'm working on it. So have you pitchers sat him down and said, hey, Yelly, this is what we expected out of you?
I think it was probably mutual. Like, hey, Burnes, you need to quit throwing the ball like shit, and Yelly, we're going to start hitting. So I think it kind of it kind of overlapped. We said, okay, let's stop screwing around. Let's start playing some better baseball.
I like it. Oh, yeah, pitchers, man, you guys need run support. Pitchers not pitching good, they always come in and say, hey, I need more runs. And when hitters aren't hitting, the pitchers say, hey, get some damn hits for me. I get it. Works both ways. Now, we need you to get the cheese head, though. After you pitched your last time out, you should have taken Rowdy and said, I get the cheese head. I'm sticking it on my head, and I'm going to walk around. Now, Rowdy said it's impossible, but I think with your last outing, you should have grabbed it.
I think if I wouldn't have walked four guys, I would have taken the cheese head and ran around the clubhouse for the first pitcher to get it after finally throwing the ball well. But, yeah, maybe next time without all the walks, then I can take it and run around Randy's locker and slap it around a little bit.
Maybe next time you catch a pop-up, you really enjoyed catching a pop-up before, you just run in and you take the cheese head. But
Maybe
that's a fair reward for you. We had discussion, I think, last week, maybe like Thursday. What is an ace, and are you an ace?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like whenever someone's on top of their game, you could have a stretch of 5 or 6 starts where you're dominant. So does that make you an ace for that stretch of time, or do you have to do it for a full season? I don't know what the qualifications are for an ace, but I think when I'm out there and I'm on top of my game and things are going well, sure, you can call me an ace. Why not?
Do you have a Cy Young?
I do. I do have one of those.
Do you usually go 6-7 innings each time through?
Hopefully, yeah.
Hopefully, yeah. You try, right? Most of the time, if you're mediocre, you go 6. If you're great, you go 8, right? Usually.
Yeah. So you're saying he qualifies,
and you've done it
He's
for
an ace.
yeah, and you've done it for a few years now.
These guys are strict.
Congratulations, Corbin. You're an ace.
Okay.
Eric and I
made
it.
give you your ace card.
You did it. You have earned Kratz and Pierzynski's very, very strict rules on ace status. Kratzy, why don't you tell him A, what your qualifications are for an ace, and B, is Shohei Ohtani an ace, Eric Kratz?
Wait, you want me to say if he's an ace or not? No, he's not an ace.
Well,
Shohei
that's why I want to
Ohtani's-
get Corbin's reaction, because I bet you he's on the same page as Kip and me.
No, he's not. Shohei Ohtani's not an ace. And listen, Corb, okay? You and I go back a long time. Whatever AJ and I say it's gospel on this, okay? So you have to do it for a long time. You can't just put together 5 starts and be like, oh man, he's an ace. You might throw like an ace one night. You know, Philip Umber has a perfect game. He threw like an ace that day.
Hey, take it easy.
Okay, he had a catcher that helped him throw like an ace. You have to put it together for different years. You have to be a guy that's going top echelon in innings pitched because you're out there. You have to be a guy that's either multiple years, top 3 Cy Young, or you have to win the Cy Young. You can't just be I had this here and there. Wow, you had a really nice smile. You're an ace, which is Scotty Braun's theory of aces. So it's a very strict, my view and AJ's view, 8 to 10 aces each year in the big leagues, because sometimes guys drop off, sometimes guys elevate their game, that or continue to do what they were doing?
Yeah, no, I hear it. I agree with the the consistency over time. Obviously, I think you have some guys that have a really good year, then they're kind of scuffling the years after that. So does that make them an ace? I think that's for everyone's interpretation. But I can see both sides of it where a guy has a dominant first half and is breaching on ace territory and then falls off, so maybe not. So I can see both sides of the spectrum there.
Corbin, I'm going to read you from my Corbin Burnes card I've had sitting on my desk since first time we had you on.
That's true.
This card has been sitting here since it's 2023 tops right here. You can see it.
Yeah, and look at the piss poor way that he's holding that thing. Completely bringing the PSA value down from 10 to 5.
Cents. So 2020 shortened year. Okay, 4-1, 1.02 WHIP, 2.11 ERA. Okay. 2021 11-5, 0.94 WHIP, 2.43 ERA. 2022 12-8, 243 punchies, 0.97 WHIP, 2.94 ERA.
He knows this stuff.
I know, but guess what that qualifies you as?
Ace. Okay.
Freaking ace.
Okay, wait.
You know why? Because he did it multiple years and he has a Cy Young.
So has
Bam!
Shohei Ohtani. Corbin Burnes simply
He doesn't have a Cy Young.
is Shohei Ohtani an ace?
I think if he continues to do what he's done for this year and into next year, yes.
So he's not an ace
Corbin.
yet.
Thank you, Corbin.
He has thrown like an ace for a short amount of time, yes.
Okay, fine.
He also almost hit for the cycle last night, so that disqualifies him too.
He's an
He
ace.
also had 4 hits, and that disqualifies him.
If you're going to be an ace, you got to look like a slap up there at the plate like most of us do.
You're making us look bad. Okay, on this series, here, another simple one for you to start. Are the Cardinals good?
I mean, look, they're a good baseball team. They haven't played the way I think they're going to play the rest of the year. Obviously, you saw that lineup last night. They smacked us around and put up 18 runs. So, I think on any given night when that offense is swinging it like that, they're going to be tough to beat. But yeah, I don't think that the way they've played to start off the year is how they're going to play all year. But does that mean they're a good team or a bad team? I don't know. That's something we have to judge after game 162.
So you've been through countless catchers since your debut in 18. Me and Manny, Grandal came in, Narvaez came in, Victor came in, and at different times, now Contreras is in. At different times, you had different starting pitchers. Run us through, because of the whole Wilson-Contreras debacle that's been going on over there, run us through what that's like for you as a pitcher, getting to know your new starting catcher.
Yes, I mean that as you and AJ know, that relationship is something that takes time to build. So guys are going to feel comfortable throwing to a guy they've thrown to for a long time. A lot of guys in that rotation, that bullpen, threw to Yadier Molina for years and years and years. So the fact that there's just a new face coming in, a new style of catching, a different way of calling the game, whatever it may be, it just takes time to get used to that. Obviously this year with the WBC and some guys being away, I think it limited some of the time that, guys got to make that relationship and build that relationship. So, for me, the relationship pitcher to catcher is one that is always, growing and always building. We've had, William now since I think we traded him for him in January, and we started building that relationship. Victor's been with us for a little over a year now. We're still building that relationship. So it's one of those things it's one of those that you never can get to a point where you're like, hey, I feel comfortable, because there's outings that you go through that you don't have your best stuff, and you learn something that guy did that you can do in the next one. So it's I think it's just something that, yeah, it's a new face over there. It's tough to be like, hey, Yadier Molina's gone. That's something we've been comfortable with, but it's something that you have to adjust
to. Did William Contreras say anything about his bro and Wilson and the roller coaster ride he's been on? Because Wilson's actually been a really good sport about it for the most part, aside from, not even aside from, I just thought it was funny the other day because they're like, oh, wow, it's been 5 minutes and you're back to catcher. What's changed? And he was like, nothing.
Now, we asked William about it. The day it happened, he was getting on the bus and me and Wade were sitting there. And we're like, William, hey, what's up? What's going on with your brother? And he just says, I don't know, Poppy. And just walked to the back of the bus. So that was about all we got out of William.
He's just like, thank God it wasn't me. You guys weren't telling me that. Corbin, did you see the thing about Framber Valdez with the Astros? So he has to wear a certain cologne when he pitches.
I have not seen that.
Cologne he wears when he throws a bullpen. He has a cologne when he wears when he's outside, and he wears a certain cologne when he pitches. So which one are you? Are you a cologne on the bullpen, or are you a cologne away from the field, or are you a cologne so you smell nice when you pitch?
I'm never a cologne guy. I probably stink like shit most of the time when I'm at the field. and I work out, and then I go eat, and then I get caught doing stuff, and then I have to jump in the shower real quick before the game starts. So I'm not a cologne guy, but I think the biggest cologne guy on our team is William Contreras, and we'll start the game, and he'll walk by, and he'll be like, "Holy shit! Like, where's he going? Isn't he going to catch a game right now? It smells like he's going out to dinner or something." It's
perfume
too. It's
Really?
It's strong.
A lot of guys use perfume, not even cologne. And he's one of them, I believe. Oh yeah. And they do a mist cloud of it and just walk right through it on their way out.
What's the science to that? Like, don't you want to maybe smell bad so that the guys don't want to be at the plate?
It's one thing for a spray or two, but the amount these guys are using is incredible. It's distracting, so maybe that's the science.
It's very strong, that's for sure.
But like, why?
I don't know. I didn't wear it. I was like Corbin. I smelled like crap, and I wanted to.
Yeah, and that would make me wouldn't that make you, Kip? You're the hitter. Wouldn't that make you uncomfortable? Would you rather be at the dish where it smells like Macy's or it smells like hot garbage?
I'd rather not even be thinking about it. But when you're thinking about it, you're like, what the hell is that smell while the pitch is about to come? Like I said, it's distracting. And I want to reiterate, it's not one or two sprays some of these guys are putting on.
No.
You can smell them while they're in the dugout, and you can smell them.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Hey, I want to ask you about Big Woo. How's he doing? Are you sending words of encouragement to Woodruff? Because he's a Bulldog, and I know he's pissed that he's not out there, but I don't know if you'd call it good or bad news, but it does sound like there's a timetable and a schedule for him to get back and be shoving for you guys, in maybe a month?
Yeah, he's doing better. I know he's been playing catch. Those couple of days, takes a day off. Those couple of days again. So he's getting there. He's just he's got to build that base back up. Being down for that long and kind of where he had a little bit of soreness and inflammation and stuff, it was just kind of a tough spot. So the only way to get rid of it was to completely shut down. So now it's just building back up. We get all off season in the spring training to build up. So now he's trying to do it in season. So it's a little bit tougher, but. Yeah, he's been playing catch out here every day. I think he's out to maybe 100, 115 feet. So he's getting there. Like I said, I think he's probably we put him in the 60, which I think is early June. So I think the last thing I've heard is mid to late June is when we get him back. And when Big Woo is Big Woo and throwing the ball well, it's a huge lift to the team in the rotation. So we're excited to get him back.
What are the young guys in the lineup doing for you guys? What is that energy feel like when they come to the park? Is it like, oh, no, the young guys are in the lineup, or is it like, oh, we got these guys, I know they're going to make plays behind me, I know they're going to get hits? Terang, Weimer, Owen Miller, all those guys.
Yeah, the energy those guys have brought to the clubhouse is really something we haven't had in a couple years. I remember in 18 and 19 when I came up, we had, Woody came up, Freddie came up, Devin came up. Those guys, they bring that young energy, that life to the clubhouse. And it's been a couple years since we had that. So even, when we had G-Midge, obviously we lost him for the year. That was a tough blow. But, Bryce, Weimer, Gus Varland, some of these guys that are just young and so inexperienced in the game, it's great to see in the clubhouse. Gus is like a little kid wherever we go. He's like, hey, did you see that we have 2 sinks in the bathroom at our hotel? Like that's crazy. So it's like just little things that these guys don't know when, coming to the big leagues, and the energy they bring to the field. It's great. And Weimer in center field, Bryce at second. These are 2 guys that, could possibly win a Gold Glove this year defensively. And Weimer comes to the plate, his big hack and big stride. He's one swing away from hitting the ball 600 feet. So it's just exciting that what these guys bring to, the lineup, to the field every day. And, keeps a lot of us, guys going and wanting to get out there and play hard.
Do you think Craig should get a new contract before the season, or are you okay with not having him under contract?
I think Counts is going to do what Counts wants to do. He's been here so long and means so much to this organization and to the city that if Counts wants to be here, I think that he's going to get a contract whenever he wants to get a contract. So it's just about being the right time for him. He loves being here. He loves the city. He loves winning. I think it'd be tough for the Brewers to let him go with what he's done with the program the last, I think, 7 or 8 years he's been managing. So I think it's just a matter of time before that happens, but it'll happen with Counts.
What about Murph? Should Murph get a contract too?
Debatable. That's debatable.
Yeah.
Is Murph talking to the? Is Murph out there talking to the grass? Is he looking down like because he?
Also, you got to tell everyone who.
Oh, Pat Murphy,
the bench coach.
Is he by you?
Yeah.
Who's a legend.
Is he out there talking to the grass? Because normally he just talks to anything.
He's down the line right there. Just.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, right there on the sitting down.
Yeah, just sitting down there on the rail.
How long before he's on the training table, just taking up one of the spots?
We haven't seen him on the training table since he had his heart attack a couple years ago. But we always tell him, "Hey Murph, you're one bad day away from being there. So we got to keep an eye on you." So he's always the guy, even when there's no one on the field. Like we got Jason Lane out running polls right now. I don't know how often Jason does that, but we always got to have someone to keep an eye on Murph just to make sure he doesn't wander off and get lost.
Ask when you see Jason Lane. Tell him I said hi from 2005. Please say, hey, how'd that
I will.
World Series go in 2005? Tell him I appreciate it. Tell him thank you. I think he missed a home run by literally about 2 inches in game 3 or game 4. Jason Lane. I mean, because he was a hitter and then he was a pitcher.
Yes.
Now he's a third base coach guy. Whatever. Those Astros. Yeah.
No, I remember.
But yeah, you do. Corbin, the Cardinals. We already kind of hit on them a little bit. Big series for you guys because they're kind of buried. You guys are in first place. They're starting to charge now. Here's the thing: you have Miley tonight. You have your pitching tomorrow. How important are these two games, especially after the 18-1? Drubbing, I guess you would call it last night, for you guys to win and say, hey, you know what? You guys are hot, but we're still the class of the division.
Yeah, for us, it's coming out and playing good baseball. We don't like to go in, but hey, we have to win this game. We lost 6 games in a row. I think it was last week, and it was business as usual. We know that in this season you're going to have stretches where you win 7 or 8 in a row, and you're going to have stretches where you lose 7 or 8 in a row. Hopefully, it's more wins than losses in those stretches. But last night, good thing we lost 18-1. It only counts as 1 loss, so we get to go back and fight another day and come out and play good baseball tonight. So our goal, we got Wade on the mound. He's thrown the ball a year. Come out and throw the ball well, play good defense. Swing the bats well, and if it means we win tonight, great. If not, we move on to the next day. We know that we can't get caught up on too many. Get just super high where we win so many in a row that we fall off when we lose one game, and when you're losing a bunch, just know that you're one good game away from getting on a winning streak. So, it's just important to come out and put yesterday in the past and have a good game today. And yeah, it'd be great to win this series, but we know there's a lot of baseball left to play.
I got a message for Murph once he gets closer into it. It's the same message I gave for Tito, is that you want them to kind of like, you're worried about their health. You're like, just go retire and enjoy yourself. But I think coming to the ballpark, he needs to sign a contract because I think that's the safest place for him to be, where there's doctors and a gym and people that are going to watch him and make choices for him, because I don't trust either of those guys to make decisions on their own.
Yeah, that's probably true.
Tell him he needs to sign for his own health. He needs to sign back.
I will. I'll tell him that for sure.
Hey, Corbin, have fun out there. Keep the rain away, okay? You guys, we don't need rainouts in mid-May. You got barely any off days as it is. So keep it all going together, and good luck tonight. You'll get them back. 18-1, 2-1 doesn't freaking matter, as we all know in baseball. So get after it later.
Exactly. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right, good stuff this week from Corbin Burnes and Curt Hogg. And I think the biggest thing I took away from Curt, and I was, as you can tell, talking myself into it as we went, I'm like, this team could be as dangerous as anyone in the playoffs. They need to add offense and throw the hammer down at the deadline.
I think that's why I kind of said what I said about, be creative. Don't be afraid to, you might give up your number 2 and 5 prospect, but this is your window. This is your chance. You can always recoup it. They've done a great job of recouping other people, other trades, and other scenarios. This is another tough week for them coming up too.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, not easy to deal with the Astros. And then San Francisco is a team you can take advantage of. They're very mediocre, definition of mediocre. And we'll see what they do about it. So at least split and keep carrying on right now with that lead in the Central. It's thin, especially with the Cardinals now coming after them, but this team should be a contender throughout the season. We'll see you next week on Brew Crew territory.